Hello everyone, this is Walk and Study, and today we are in Golden.
Golden is a small town in Colorado, a relatively small town, kind of a suburban small town. It's on the outskirts of Denver, a little bit to the west, and we thought we'd give you all a glimpse of American life in Golden today and sort of talk about what life is like in a sort of smaller setting in the United States.
So today we're going to have a conversation about small town life in America. We thought about having this conversation because when my parents visited us from Turkey, the town they loved the most was definitely Golden. So we were wondering what makes Golden so appealing.
So as we walk around Golden today, you can take a look for yourself and decide if it's a place that seems appealing to you. Duygu, you mentioned that your parents found Golden to be particularly nice and was maybe even their favorite city. So do you know what they found especially attractive? Why they liked it so much?
I think the best part about living in this city is the creek, for sure. Just the things you can do around the creek, the walking paths are absolutely amazing. And there are some old houses, I'm not sure what you call them, maybe you can explain them a bit better. The old houses that has a setup from the maybe 1890s, I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, so they're kind of pioneer village houses that are set up at one section of the creek, and it's kind of a historical park that allows people to see what life was like in the, I guess it'd be the late 19th century, so probably the 1860s up until the early 1900s, and so it's really cool to be able to see that. But I agree with you, I think the creek is an excellent part of the town, and it sort of draws everyone to this central space, and you can use it, and it's just exquisitely beautiful. You can fish on it, you can tube down it, so you can float down it in the summers on an inner tube. It's really quite nice.
And I see a lot of people just reading their book, sitting by the creek, and children just playing in the water. So I think that community feeling also that the creek creates also make the town a more happy place to live.
Definitely, and it's very fun to watch the kayakers too. We forgot to mention the kayakers.
Oh yeah.
During the summer months and a little bit earlier too in the spring, you can see whitewater kayakers kind of playing in the water, and it's really fun to watch them do their thing.
Yes, definitely. And in addition to the creek, the second best thing is probably the main street in the center of the town. It just has a very Western town feeling. It almost feels like you're in a movie set.
Yes, one of my favorite parts of the city are the Western themed statues that you have all along this kind of main drag, the main street part of the city. I love what that brings and how it kind of emphasizes the Western history and heritage of the city a lot.
I think that's one of the reasons why my parents liked the town so much, because it reminded them of the Western cowboy movies that we see on Turkish TV. But it also has a very modern feel with the restaurants and other things you see on the main street.
That's one of my favorite parts about the city as well, is how you can kind of walk down the main street and go to a coffee shop, visit art galleries, go to an old-time saloon and have a drink maybe, or get a slice of pizza. There are also some very cool outdoor shops in Golden, because Golden is so close to the mountains that doing things in the mountains is a very popular activity for many people.
Oh yeah, that's another great part of living in Golden. The mountains are so close, and if you're into hiking, even rock climbing, mountain biking, it's just a perfect place to live because it only takes, 20-30 minutes to go to the closest mountain, perhaps?
I mean, 20-30 minutes walking. Like if you were going to drive for 20 or 30 minutes, you could get really deep into the mountains. And in the wintertime, you're so close to ski resorts that it's much easier to get up and go skiing or snowboarding than it is if you live in other parts of the state further away from the mountains. Even if you live in Denver, which is the big city in Colorado, the capital, it's much harder to get into the mountains than if you live in Golden.
Would you say that people choose to live in Golden for that particular reason? I mean, to be close to the mountains?
Oh, for sure. All of the smaller communities that are closer to the mountains attract people because they're close to the mountains. So most of the people who are living in Golden chose this place because they can sneak away and go do things that are really outdoorsy. But I think another reason that many people move to Golden is because there's a very good engineering university in the city as well. It's called the Colorado School of Mines, and it gives the town a kind of college town feel. So you have many different kinds of people with many different interests living in Golden, and that's a very appealing thing, I think, to many people.
It's funny that you say that because I don't get the college town feel a lot in Golden because whenever we're walking around, I don't see a lot of college students, even though School of Mines is very close by.
That's true. I guess you see a lot of tourists, especially in this part of town, kind of the main street part of town, don't you?
For instance, there is a city up north, pretty close to Golden, I would say, called Boulder. And that really feels like a college town. Maybe that's because the university there is much bigger, so that could be one of the reasons.
Yeah, you're right. Boulder has a much more college town feel. There are more students walking around everywhere. There's kind of a specific section of the town even that's dominated by college students.
We should also mention that it is a bigger town as well, though.
We'll actually be in Boulder soon, so make sure to check that video out if you're interested in seeing what a quintessential college town in the United States feels like.
Okay, we've been talking about the pros of living in Golden, but are there any cons to living here?
One con could be that I think a lot of people who live in Golden work outside of Golden, so they work in surrounding communities and they have to drive to work. And if they live in Denver or even other cities that are further away, that can mean a significant commute every day just to get to work. And to me, that's kind of a con. I would like to live much closer to the place that I worked so I could get there easily, maybe even get there by riding my bike or by walking.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that I really dislike about the United States in general is how car-focused and car-centered everything is. Even in a smaller town like Golden, you don't have any streets where there are just restaurants where people can walk that is not open to cars. I feel like more than people, sometimes cars are prioritized a bit more. As we're walking, I'm sure people can see how cars are parked next to the restaurants and stores. And I wish that they had a street where cars were not allowed so that people can enjoy the street instead of sharing it with the cars.
Ironically, that's been kind of one of the real benefits of the pandemic, I think, is that as traditional restaurants have closed, cities have been trying to open up streets just for pedestrians and open air dining. And I think that's been a really cool thing that we've embraced during the pandemic that before that we didn't really focus on very much.
Yeah, that's a good point. So maybe people will realize how nice it is to dine without a car parked next to you. So we'll see some change in the future even after the pandemic is over. But I think cars will always be essential in America just because in general cities are so spread out that often you can't walk from one place to another. For example, where we live, we can't walk to a grocery store. We have to drive because it is so far away.
Another con maybe to living in Golden right now in particular could be the air quality, because right now we have a huge amount of forest fires that are burning, not only in Colorado but also in other western states like California, and that's had a serious impact on the air quality in places like Golden. So I think today the air quality is moderate maybe, or maybe it was unhealthy for sensitive groups. And unfortunately, I think in Golden, the air quality can be worse than other places.
And wouldn't you say that even when there are no forest fires, the air quality can be bad occasionally because of the pressure thing? I'm not really sure what the scientific explanation to that is.
Yeah, I don't really know the scientific explanation either in specifics, but I think in the wintertime, the air quality is sort of notoriously, maybe not bad, but consistently moderate, let's say.
Oh, yeah, that kind of leads us into talking about weather. I think depending on who you are and what you prefer, the weather in Golden might be a pro or a con.
Yeah, if you love sunny weather, then Golden and Colorado in general is the place for you because we have sunny days all the time.
Yes, and that is not an exaggeration. If you're a rain lover like me, Colorado in general can get very, very sunny and
very dry too. I think Colorado has a very desert-like climate. And so if you are expecting, or if you're from Istanbul like you are, and you have rain constantly, then living in Golden might not be right for you.
yeah, the air is so dry that your skin also gets very dry, and I carry a lip balm and a hand lotion all the time with me. And you can even find lotion in very unexpected places like bathrooms in restaurants or break rooms at work.
It's funny you say that because I don't think I have ever seen lotion in a men's bathroom in Colorado. So maybe that's something that's only in women's bathrooms.
Oh, really? That's funny. Okay, so now that we have talked enough about lotions, let's go back to Golden.
I think you're right. So to be honest, I can't think of a lot of other cons, but one other positive or pro that I thought of is the trail systems that are in Golden. So Golden has really excellent paved trails that kind of wind all throughout the city and that actually connect this city to many other neighboring cities. So if you have a bicycle, you can get some great exercise in, actually.
Yeah, you see a lot of families with little children and people from all age groups on the trails. That's actually one of the things that surprised me when I first moved to Colorado. I think like where I'm from, people usually go to brunch on Sunday mornings, but in Colorado, people prefer to bike, and it's not just like biking for a little bit, it's usually very long, like they bike for 40 kilometers.
I think you're right. I think my parents, for instance, every Sunday go on like a 45-kilometer bike ride, and they're relatively old. They're in their early 60s to late 60s, so that's a big part of life in Colorado and a big part of life in Golden.
They took me to one of the bike rides actually, and it ended in tears.
And blood.
I wish this was a joke.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was one of our most pleasant memories. So leaving aside terribly long bike rides, another thing I really like about Golden is sort of how slow life can feel. It doesn't have a very hectic pace to it.
Definitely, moving here from a large city and a very loud city, it was a little uncomfortable for me at first. For people visiting from large cities, Golden might feel sleepy.
Which could be an appealing aspect of the city, because I know living in Istanbul for a number of years for me was a little bit overwhelming at times, and being in Golden, there's a much more sedate pace to life, I think.
And once you get used to the quiet, I think it's harder to transition back into the loud.
I can see that. I think you're definitely right about that. It sounds like we're slowly convincing ourselves to move to Golden. Too bad we can't afford it. Oh, there's another negative thing, I guess, about Golden is Golden is quite an expensive place because it's become so popular in recent years. So houses are very expensive. I don't think you can find a moderate size, maybe even a small size house for less than $300,000. So you've got to have some money in the bank if you want to move to Golden.
But visiting is free.
Yes, that's very true. All right, guys. Thanks for taking a walk with us through downtown Golden. We hope what you saw was interesting. We hope the conversation we had was useful and helpful for everyone trying to practice their English.
Let us know in the comments if you would like to live in Golden or what you liked or disliked about the city.
And let us know if there are any other parts of American life that you would like to see or would like to hear us discuss so you can get a better sense of what living in the United States is like. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe below to support us, give us a like, and We hope you'll join us on our next Walk and Study video. Thanks, everybody. Bye.